Guys, good morning and welcome to the podcast. So we have a sort of a different topic here that's just worth covering because it is, there's an epidemic basically of low T, low testosterone. Just by way of background, by the way, guys, hello. If you haven't met me before or haven't met you, Andy's my name. I'm the clinical lead here at Redicare, so I do all the kind of science research, put the protocol together, oversee the work with the NHS in terms of treating patients with metabolic illnesses like high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, obesity, fatty liver, and so on. And actually, we see a number of those patients with low testosterone. Really, really, really common. So, first thing to recognize, if you have low testosterone, if you know someone with low testosterone, this is almost more common than not, even in men who are in their 30s, early 30s, late 20s, early 30s, we're seeing low testosterone. The reason we're seeing this kind of decade upon decade decline in low testosterone is pretty clear. It's diet related, more specifically, high blood sugar levels, high insulin levels from processed food, and also things like less vitamin D, people eating kind of less meat and less cholesterol and saturated fat in their diet, which are all precursors, the latter two anyway, saturated fat and cholesterol, to testosterone. Cholesterol is a precursor to hormones, as is vitamin D. So less light exposure, more processed food, more levels of stress, and also exposure to something called I think it's xenophytals. I'll come to it in a second. Just basically plastic exposure. Xenoestrogens, sorry, was the word I was looking for. So xenoestrogens are estrogens that are present in plastic foods. So when you have plastic foods, especially when you heat up plastic. So heating up things in the microwave, if it's in plastic, coffee in plastic cups, and even leaving a bottle of water in the car when it heats up, that's when you're going to get the xenoestrogens, which tank your testosterone massively. Okay, let's get to the key points. The number one is that from a hormonal point of view, first of all, let me just show you this because I printed this off when I was doing research on it in the past. I should have really shared it on the screen, but this is on the far side here. We see 1987 to 1989, the average testosterone, median testosterone level was up at 500. The median testosterone level by 95 was down to 430. By 2005, it was down to 391, and it's down around 300 now. So it's gone from 500 to just below 300 in a couple of decades. And we see this only in the Western world where we have exposure to plastics and where we have less saturated fat, more processed food, more sugar, more metabolic ill health. You don't see it in remote tribes around the world. And there are numerous papers on what caused this, the effects of high fat, very low carb diets on blood lipid profile and anabolic hormonal status. Now, what I have highlighted there, I'll just read it out for you because it's probably easier, is that total testosterone on a low carb, high fat group went up 37% in 8 weeks. 37%. I mean, that's close to if you were injecting testosterone, what you might see. On the low fat group, it went down 11%. So we see this in the literature. It's very clear. You need to eat enough fat if you want your testosterone to go up. Eat enough fat and cholesterol. Sorry, that should be the other way around in the banner. Eat enough fat and cholesterol to get your testosterone to go up. Fat is a precursor for testosterone. I know this only too well because I went to my doctor about a year ago, something totally unrelated, just something I needed antibiotics for. And he said to me, let's run your bloods, looked at my bloods, and he said, that's the highest testosterone level I've ever seen. And I'm concerned about it. And I said, why are you concerned about it? And he said, well, it could be from a sort of a tumor or something like that. And I just said, look, I don't think it's a tumor. But let's see. It turned out it wasn't. Didn't really know what he was talking about with respect to him. And I said to him, look, I eat a very low carb, sugar-free diet. I do a lot of intermittent fasting, cold water exposure, eat a lot of saturated fat. I'm in ketosis most of the time. Any chance it could have been that? And of course, the answer was yes. So animal fats and cholesterol equals testosterone. It's a precursor for. Next one, and this is one that a lot of people don't know, but it is one that will blow your testosterone through the roof if you have the guts to do it. My wife thinks I'm mental because I do this out the back. Even in the cold weather, I would go out to something that's called the Lumi, which is like an €80, looks like a tub, like a kid's tub almost. It's about that big and about 4 foot deep. And I'd fill it up with water, leave it out the back, and then go out with a hammer and break the ice in the morning and jump into it. I do 2 minutes, 3 times a week, and it skyrockets your testosterone. I don't do it to boost my testosterone. I do it to lower inflammation, helps with fat burning, immune system activation, all that sort of stuff. But if you look at the research on it, it's wild. You get people who are in their 60s, mid 60s, who have testosterone levels of like, a horned up 19-year-olds, just way up there. Testosterone levels going way up. Now, this is the main thing, and that is that high insulin equals low testosterone. So basically, if you have high blood sugar levels, if you're eating a lot of bread, refined carbohydrates, cereals, granola bars, frozen pizzas, basically grain-based beigey foods, all carbohydrate boils down to glucose in your blood. Glucose spikes a hormone called insulin in the body. High insulin equals low testosterone. It's almost that simple. If you wanted to do one thing, pull one lever to get your testosterone way up, do some intermittent fasting, reduce your blood sugar levels by following a low carb, high fat diet, the likes of what you'd see on the Ready Care Control, the Control DTX program. And that's going to get your testosterone way up. I see it all the time when we're treating people. We're not even treating them for testosterone related issues, and their test goes from, I don't know, let's say 60 to 75 or 80, just shoots up, depending on which units you're using, European or American. This is another one. Decrease your stress. So this is easier said than done. And look, we all have our stresses that we have to deal with, but high stress levels means high cortisol levels, and high cortisol levels depletes testosterone. Cortisol is your stress hormone, your fight or flight hormone. So now, I'm not saying acute stress. Acute stress is different. So stress can be good or bad, believe it or not. Stress can be a really good thing. A good example of that is fasting, exercise, hormetic stress from plant-based foods. There's a lot of stuff that can actually, at a low level, stress is a good thing. So you stress the body when you lift weights, you tear down your muscle fibers, and then they rebuild back up. That's known as a hormetic stressor. You stress the body when you go in a sauna, and then you get all the cardiovascular benefits, the detox benefits, the heat shock protein benefits, and so on. So there are things that you can do in the short term that have reap long-term benefits. That's known as a hormetic stressor. There is no benefit to not dealing with or not prioritizing balancing off cortisol levels by having something that's stressing you in the background. No, look, it's not for me to say, but whether it's relationship, work stress, whatever it is, and you see this in clinical studies when people leave jobs that they were really stressed in all the time, and they go into either take a year off or they go into a job that they're less stressed in, or they change roles, and you see hormonal profiles just changing massively. So if you can put any steps you can in to decrease stress. Now, one way of balancing that off would be, for every stressful day you have or event you have, or say, for example, you're stressed 3 or 4 times a week, try to balance it off with like 10 minutes of a meditation app or something like that. Or even just something that helps you de-stress. For me, me personally, it's playing golf. I play golf 3 or 4 times a week. I go and I play 9 holes, and I don't think about anything else when I'm playing except that. So for me, it's kind of like a form of meditation. I come back and I'm like reset, and I'm good to go again when I come back. And you get this new appreciation of, I walk back into the house when I was a little bit wound up, and I come back in and I'm like, everything's great, like a new person. For you, it might be walking for half an hour, on those days. But high intensity exercise, be careful with it. It can actually spike your cortisol, so you have to be careful with it. If you know you have a cortisol issue, you may be better off doing low intensity exercise. Okay, the next are supplements. There are supplements that can help. Now, no supplement will fix low testosterone. You'll see all these chalk and all these plant-based testosterone. They're all, in my humble opinion, they're all nonsense if you're not changing your diet. But there are some supplements which can help, and they are zinc. Now, you can get zinc in seafood, dark chocolate, meats, shellfish, all that sort of stuff. Around 25 to 50 milligrams of zinc a day. That will lower estrogen levels. Now, estrogen, or estrogen as we call it, estrogen is antagonistic to testosterone, meaning if estrogen goes up, testosterone goes down. Antagonistic just means a seesaw effect. If estrogen goes down, testosterone goes up. So we want estrogen to go up. Now, estrogen going up is what happens when you have a lot of plastics in your diet. If you're heating stuff in plastic and drinking coffee out of plastic cups every day, that's what's going to jack up those xenoestrogens, and the xenoestrogens they're actually estrogen mimicking. That's what xeno means. Xenoestrogen means mimics estrogen, or the hormonal profile of estrogen in the body. So the body thinks that you've got more estrogen, testosterone goes low. Okay, magnesium as well. Sorry, take magnesium as well if your testosterone is low. And you also want to have vitamin D. Vitamin D is a precursor. It's basically a hormone. We call it a vitamin, but it's more or less a hormone because it's a precursor to many hormonal pathways in the body. And personally, I aim for about 5,000 IUs, which is international units per day. It'll tell you on the side of it to take 2,000, yet the clinical studies show that anything up to like 20,000 a day is actually tolerable. Personally, and I can't make recommendations, even around supplements, I don't like to do it because I don't know the background and what other stuff is going on for people. But personally, I take 5,000 a day based on what I've seen in the literature. Exercise is the next one to get your testosterone up. If you want to get your testosterone up, teach your body through your actions when it comes to exercise that you require energy or more of an anabolic profile to lift heavy things and do explosive things. So we'll balance this off with, if you don't have a high cortisol problem, if you're not really stressed all the time, you're probably better off in that instance if you are doing kind of low intensity exercise like walking. If you're not, I would go with high intensity interval training, which is short bursts of heavier / faster bouts, followed by 2 to 3 minutes of rest, and cycling that over a 15 to 20 minute period. So lift heavy, run fast. Now, again, I'm not saying go lift heavy if you have a heart problems. Make sure and run it past your GP if you have any underlying medical conditions. But running fast and lifting heavy, even for short bouts, I'm talking 2 or 3 minutes of these a day, will make a huge difference to HGH, which is human growth hormone, and testosterone. Second last, intermittent fasting. 18 to 20 hours is the kind of sweet spot. So if you finish up eating at 6 p.m., not having your next meal till kind of 12 p.m. or 2 p.m. the next day is really going to boost up, again, human growth hormone, which at the 18 to 20 hour mark quadruples. Testosterone goes up 30 to 50%. HGH quadruples. So if you think about it, what would your body need to do to make you a more successful hunter if you've gone 18 to 24 hours without food? Well, it would have to boost up. It would have to send some sugar into your bloodstream in the form of glycogen, which it does. That's why your blood sugars actually trend a little bit higher towards the end of your fast, because your body is saying, let's pump some glucose out of the liver here for quick energy when you go hunting. You'd need to be more aggressive. You'd need to be more visceral. Your eyesight would need to get better, and you'd need more testosterone. And all of those things happen in a fasted state. So my wife once said to me, I was doing a 2-day fast. She was saying to me, are you a bit snappy? And it was nothing to do with hunger, because you don't have hunger, as anyone who knows, who's practiced fasting for a while. The hunger just goes away. But you start to become more, testosterone notably increases. You start to notice it, if you know what I'm saying. But you also need to get, you tend to get a little bit more visceral, sharper, not quite aggressive, just on the ball and edgy when you've gone a prolonged period of time without food. So you can actually feel the growth hormone, but particularly the testosterone jumping up. And that's there to see in many clinical studies. It's all across the literature. Okay, let's sum this up. So key points: eat enough fat and cholesterol, because that's spelled the wrong way around. So apologies, or the wrong way around. Animal fats and cholesterol equals testosterone. You have to have enough animal fats. This is really clear. We'll see. This is where the kind of, and it's a derogatory term, but this is where the term soy boy comes from in terms of vegans and vegetarians, that if you're eating soy produces a lot of estrogen, you're not getting estrogen, I should say, you're not getting enough animal fats and cholesterol, you end up with low testosterone. So low muscle mass, thin, timid, emotional. That's what can happen. Now that's a generalization, it's a characterization and stereotype, but it is there in the literature that if you eat less animal fat and protein and eat too much soy and too much plastics, you will end up with more feminine traits, so to speak. Cold water, jump in a nice bath a couple of times a week, it skyrockets your testosterone. It's so good. Remember, high insulin equals low testosterone, so you want to get your insulin down by eating less carbs and sugar. So basically an animal-based diet with less processed food, so a ketogenic diet or a low-carb, high-fat diet is going to be excellent. Decreased stress means lower cortisol, means higher testosterone. So when cortisol goes high, testosterone goes low. That's that antagonistic effect we spoke about between the two of those. In terms of supplements, zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D. High intensity interval training, going to be really helpful as well. And intermittent fasting, so pushing your eating window or compressing your eating window down to, I always try to stick to sunrise, sunset or worst. So I don't eat before the sun comes up, but obviously enough, I'm usually in bed. But I'll typically have something to eat at. But for me, I'll normally have black coffee. I'll probably eat at 11 or 12 o'clock, but certainly worst case scenario, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. I don't eat after kind of 6, half 6 in the evening. And then, yeah, actually, they're the main bits I was going to say, and then one more, but we've already covered cold water exposure. So fasting, eating a species appropriate diet, eating within that narrower eating window in line with your circadian rhythm, sunlight and sunset, and avoiding plastics exposure as well, those xenoestrogens. Trying never to have anything in a plastic cup that's been heated. So coffee, and I mean, look, I grab coffee 2 or 3 times a week, but at least minimize your exposure. Don't drink water in the summer if it's heated in a bottle, because your xenoestrogens go through the roof. And try not to microwave plastic things. If at all, put it into a ceramic bowl or something like that before you eat it. All right, I'll leave it at that, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. We'll be back next week, and don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us more than you think. Have a good day, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.